What is going on, YouTube? Got another custom for you today, and today we're working on the 1971 Dodge Charger. Check that out. If you saw the mail call I did a couple days ago, you'll see I got quite a few of these, and I have a plan for all of them. At least I think I have a plan to make these look pretty sweet. This isn't my favorite year, but the more I kind of check it out and play around with it, the more I kind of like it. But I think I have a pretty cool idea for this. As you guys know, I like taking old cars and making them look like NASCARs, so that's going to be the plan for this one. I'm not going to add any weight, at least right now I won't. It'll probably eventually go on the track, so I won't be putting any monoblock or fancy wheels on it. I'll probably be using these wheels, or if I can find some other ones that fit, so it can still roll down the track. And if that time comes where I want to use it on the track, I will be able to. But first thing first, I've already drilled out the posts and taken this thing apart. So let's get it all taken apart if I can and see what we're working with here. So what I kind of noticed, especially with this one, is even if you wanted to add some weight to it, it might be a little bit difficult because front bumper, interior, and the rear bumper are all connected. So what are you going to do if you want to add some weight to this? So you're going to have to cut out pretty much everything except the rear and front bumpers, glue those in, and then add your weight. That might be a little difficult, but we'll see. Now that it's all taken apart, let's get the body over there and get the citrus strip on there and strip that paint. This is a little bit older car. I think it's from 2011, but I am still going to sand it down a little bit. I'm not really sure what kind of sandpaper I'm using here. This is just a dollar store crappy sandpaper. I think it's 400 grit. You can get pretty aggressive with the sandpaper that you use on this. You're not going to mess up the body or the frame or anything like that, and you're taking the paint off anyway. So although if it does have some body lines, you don't want to get too crazy with it and sand off those lines. But you're just looking for a pretty good scuff to let the citrus strip grab on there and start working away. That should be good, I think. Let me get all the sand off here and we will get to stripping this paint. And as usual, I am using the citrus strip stripping gel. I've used this on pretty much every casting I've done with it. It usually works pretty well the first time. Occasionally I'll need a second coat to help get the paint off there, but for the most part, it actually does a really good job. I just use a paintbrush to apply a pretty heavy coat to the inside and outside of the car. If you wanted to, you could probably fill a glass jar with the citrus strip and submerge the car in there, and that would probably do a good job getting the paint off also. That looks like it's pretty good for now. We'll let that sit for a while, and we'll come back when it's ready to get all this paint off. I think sanding the car beforehand helped quite a bit, as the citrus strip started tearing into that paint pretty quickly, as you can see here. Well, it looks like the citrus strip has done its job, and it looks like it is ready to get all the paint off here. The citrus strip worked really well on this one, and probably in large part because I took the time to sand it there for a little bit. So that's looking about as good as I'm going to get it. I'll go wash it in some warm soapy water, take some steel wool to it, and we'll be back in a little bit. All the paint came off pretty easily. There's still some paint in the nooks and crannies that I'm going to have to go over with a pick, but overall, not too bad. It's time to prime the car, and I'm using Krylon White Color Max Primer. This stuff works really well, and I haven't had any problems with it. I used it on my last couple customs, and I am very pleased with it. Best thing is, it comes in a 12-ounce can, so you can do quite a bit of cards with it. For the top coat, I'm using Krylon Aluminum Metallic. This stuff is awesome. I use it as an undercoat when I use the Duplicolor metal cast paints. And for what I want to do here today, I think this will be perfect. Came out really well, and looks like a aluminum can, which is kind of what I'm going for. I picked up a few water slide decals from RWNEFF1 over on eBay. Go check them out. These decals are pretty awesome, and I've used them quite a bit, and I've always been very pleased with them. If you haven't figured it out already, this car is going to be based off of the 2001 number 40 Coors Light car, driven by Sterling Marlin. That paint scheme was on a Dodge Intrepid, but I thought that paint scheme would look pretty sweet on this Charger. Sterling Marlin started racing cars in the 70s and was the 1983 Winston Cup Rookie of the Year. He also has back-to-back Daytona 500 victories from 1994 and 1995. In his 33 years of NASCAR racing, he ran 748 races with 10 wins, 216 top 10s, and 11 poles. Sterling's last race was in Martinsville in 2009. There's your little history lesson about Sterling Marlin, but what about the Dodge Charger? Well, Dodge made the Charger from 1966 to 1978. Took about a 19-year hiatus, and then started making them again in the early 2000s. The 71 to 74 Chargers are the third generation of the Charger, and you could pretty much get them with any engine you wanted, anything from a 225 straight 6 to a 440 V8. Unfortunately, in the 70s, insurance and gas prices were getting pretty crazy, so Dodge only made 63 Hemi RTs that year, which was the last appearance of the Hemi in any production car. From 1972 to 1977, Richard Petty drove this model of car to 35 NASCAR wins, and was quoted as saying that this was his favorite body style to drive because it was so balanced. If Richard Petty likes it, then it's gotta be good. And that, my friends, is your history lesson for the day. Let's get back to this car. The decals went on really well, and it's actually looking pretty sweet. That front decal on the hood is huge, took up the whole hood. I really like the paint on there. It actually looks like an aluminum can, which is pretty cool, which is kind of look I'm going for. But unfortunately, the second I hit this with some clear coat, it's going to dull that shiny aluminum color, and it is actually going to look something a little bit more like this. You would never guess that both these cars were painted with the same paint. The one on the left has my clear coat on it. Obviously the one on the right just has the spray paint that I used. Unfortunately, this is going to end up looking this color, which isn't all that bad because this is probably closer to the original color of the actual race car. So I think it'll still turn out well, but it is going to lose this shiny color, which is unfortunate. Still looks pretty sweet though. So anyway, let's spray this thing with some clear and start getting this thing back together. I think it is now time to get this bad boy back together. I sprayed the interior and the front and rear bumper with black paint. And then for the bumpers and the front grille, I went over it with a chrome pin. I wanted it to stand out just a little bit from the rest of the car so you would know that there's a front and rear bumper there. And I also spray painted the front splitter to kind of match the paint of the car. Now it is time for the moment of truth. Let's see how this turned out. Oh yeah, check that out. The Silver Bullet Coors Light. I think it looks pretty good. once I put the clear coat on there, it actually blended in the decals really, really well. You can't even see where the decals end, and it matches the paint perfectly. Very pleased with that. So there it is. Looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. Dodge RT. Pretty cool considering what we started with. I think it turned out really nice. I'm very pleased with this. If I'm being completely honest, I wasn't really a huge fan of this casting before I started this project. And quite honestly, I wasn't really a huge fan of the 70s Chargers. I loved the 60s Chargers, but there's something about the 70s Chargers that just didn't do it for me for whatever reason. But once I started working on this casting and kind of seeing the body lines and doing the history on the car, I actually think I changed my mind. I really like these cars now. They are straight up muscle cars, and even though the 70s kind of ruined muscle cars a little bit, especially the later 70s, let's not talk about the 80s, but I really dig this car now. I'm definitely a fan, and you know what? That's what it's all about. You know, learning different things and exposing yourself to different stuff, and I'm really happy with it. I think the paint job and the decals turned out really well, and I'm really pleased with this. I'm sure eventually we'll see how it moves down the track, and I'm looking forward to working on some of the other Chargers I have. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and leave a comment down below with what you think, and we will see you on the next one. And my custom vintage NASCAR collection's grown a little bit. I'm up to 4 cars, and it's going to grow quite a bit more here. I think in total, when it's all said and done, I got about 10 more cars to do, so at the end it should be a pretty cool collection. Before I leave you, head over to Tunetrax Racing. Smash that subscribe button to help Jason fight his battle with leukemia. And you can watch him run some hot rod races down there too.